Torches flickered with an ethereal flame from their holsters, fused to the old, crumbling walls of the labyrinth. Alm walked through the cold, depressing gloom with a brave, if not grim, look on his face. Grasped tightly within his right hand was the sword which had fallen the twisted dragon of power, Duma, just months ago. The blade of a sacred dragon's fang being the only protection to which the Farmboy had against the oppression lurking within the long, dark tunnels. Littered throughout the vast chambers, side rooms, and haunting hallways were the remains of abuse, smashed pillars, broken walls, and enormous cracks within the stone floor, serving as a reminder of how long the ancient city of Thabes had been left in a state of decay. Worse yet still were those whom had been left to wander and rot within the old passageways. Alm stepped closer to what appeared to be a door, a large vertical split down the middle, chiseled permanently within the thick slate of stone. Lifting his lantern closer to the structure, staring back at him were 6 red eyes, all of which were drawn into a symbol she had never seen before. Without warning, the silence was shattered by the deafening sound of stone grinding against stone, the door peeling open to reveal yet more inky blackness, from which a cold breeze slithered from within. The boy stepped through the gloom, piercing it with the tiny flame dancing from behind glass. Very faintly, coming from the deepest parts of the newly exposed chamber, which was still blanketed by darkness, came a low, menacing growl. Alm felt every hair along his arms and scalp stand on end, swearing all in silence, standing rock still, as the blackness began to shift and take a form. To the young boy's horror, 6 pairs of glowing abyssal red eyes split through the gloom, shifting eerily in the nothingness to look down upon the visitor with a gaze that seemed to have a grin to them. Echoing within the back of the boy's mind was another voice, far too cruel and contaminated to be by anyone or anything belonging to this world. The beast's voice, cold and low, spoke 2 words alone that held enough gravity to them to squash the courage within the boy.
Welcome, lunch,
said the voice. The Thabes Labyrinth is a world of mystery. Located within the Mammothon Desert in Arcania, yet being a decaying tower half buried within ancient sands, one would easily think the ruins devoid of life, only to be sorrowfully mistaken once they entered the maze of tunnels littered with sand piles and broken pillars. The labyrinth consists of 10 main floors, each one holding new enemies that just get stronger and stronger, and more powerful the further you travel into the depths of the earth. Yet despite the ruffians, Duma's faithful, terrors, horrors, and eventually the masked villagers, which are the Ryzen, Grima stands out as the strongest of them all, with stats insanely high if Ulm or Celica enter unprepared. His health remains a mystery, but his attack, skill, and speed is balanced out at 22. Obviously, this tyrannical beast will only get stronger by the time he ages to the awakening timeline, but he's still more than capable of defending the cold, dark prison which he has, more or less, called his home for little under 1,000 years. Which brings me to my question, and later my theory. Who is Grima? And I'm not just questioning him as a creature, but as a son. as kin. Someone, or in this case something, that was a part of a family yet torn away inexplicably and unwillingly. We know from inscriptions found in-game while exploring the labyrinth that there was an alchemist named Fornius who strove to create the perfect life form, driven by his insanity after his wife perished. Etched into one of the stone slabs found at the beginning of each level, we can see clear hints of how Grima was created.
At last, blood from a divine dragon. Its power is terrifying. Beautiful.
Fornius had stolen something impossibly valuable, the blood of a divine dragon. How he did this is yet still a mystery, but the translated Japanese text from Fire Emblem Echoes, Shadows of Valentia Memorial Book, Valentia Accordion, delves a bit deeper into how he did this otherwise great sin.
At last, blood from a divine dragon. Although it took some time to cross that dangerous bridge, at least it wasn't folly. Now I have the real thing. Even just looking at it, the blood, its power, is terrifying. Beautiful.
Now, it doesn't make sense to have just blood, which, yes, holds life, but I theorize that perhaps Fornius cracked open the egg to extract the blood, embryo, and other various fluids for his experiments. So, forgive me if I say egg a lot. The scripts that we see in-game, even if in a more detailed light, continue on as such.
After mixing the divine blood with human fluids, certain herbs, and nectar, I sealed the concoction in a veil and observed it for 40 days. New life has been born. At first, it was a tiny thing, the size of a thumbnail. Looking at it, it looked no different than a human fetus. But without a doubt, it was a new life form that had the blood of the gods. I carefully decided to watch over the growth of this new life form. I kept it at the temperature of a horse's wound, and each day I gave it my blood. On the 80th day, its humanoid shape gradually started to disappear. Eyes appeared, its neck grew, and I could see a tail growing from its behind. Slowly and slowly, it began to take the shape of a dragon. However, it was an unusually shaped dragon, not at all like a divine dragon. Its 6 eyes seemed to be smiling at me from inside the veil. Does it possess consciousness? Is it I that it is smiling at? I think I have created something truly tremendous. Even though it is now as big as a puppy, it shows glimpses of terrifying power. I have yet to find a solution to control its rampage when it becomes an adult.
And this is where things take a sinister tone.
Its voice echoes in my head. I feel like I can see inside of it. Within it, I can see dark thoughts, violent thoughts. It makes me tremble from my heart. At the same time, I feel like it can look inside me. As it stares at the trembling me, it smiles reassuredly. That thing has become a dangerous existence that nobody can control. It pains me, but I have decided to destroy it with my own hands.
We can see quite clearly, after the words of Fornius mysteriously vanish abruptly, that Grima was more or less an experimental toy created by a madman, yet became too powerful to remain living, yet any plots to thwart the dragon remained unsuccessful. But now comes another question, and the theory as a whole. Finally. Where did the dragon egg blood come from? All eggs, blood, holding life come from somewhere. Birds, lizards, turtles, and dragons. And I have a theory as where Grima came from. Even if it sounds crazy. We see another earth dragon in Valentia. One who looks similar in anatomy, is old enough to be a father, rules the dead. Duma, dragon god of power, necromantic dragon, and is worshipped by the Duma faithful. Not only is their behavior cannily similar, but I might have a clue as to why Duma went insane before his sister, Milla, physically appeared to have snapped years after the other. Imagine, you are a ferocious divine dragon, ruler of a kingdom and reigning with power over compassion itself, and you have a devoted following willing to do anything at any time by your mere will. You have everything power can get you. Then, by some sort of fate or destiny, you find a partner who can give you the one thing power cannot: children, family, other than the annoying little sister who you never have gotten along with since childhood. In 1,000 years or less, insanity will slowly start to take over your mind, and knowing your fate all too well, being given the chance to be a father is a blessing. But then, all that is snatched away by some two-legged fool who stole that one irreplaceable possession, your son or daughter. Insanity doesn't happen overnight. Grief comes first, and with a kingdom to watch over, I doubt Duma, if he was the father, had any time to think about what was stolen from him, rather becoming slowly more miserable as the years dragged on. Here is the reason why I think this theory could work, with being 1,000 years or less prior to the game. Thabes. The city was alive at this time. Fornius was confronted by messengers, soldiers, and other means to establish communication from the council to strike a deal with the alchemist to get him to close down his workshop. None of these people returned, or at least not alive or in good shape. They were the subjects of Fornius' attempts to create the perfect undying life form: specters, horrors, and the masked villagers, all brutally murdered by the scientist and turned into the undead and likely food for Grima. Grima, for a time, was feeding off of Fornius' blood, but in time that would come to suffice very little. Fornius created his army by those he killed, had a dragon egg in growth, and then was sealed within his workshop with the dragon and all his creations. The seal was said to break when the city crumbled, and that is more or less accurate with the condition we see it in-game. Grima was sealed away for 1,000 years, and Duma, at this point during Ulm's lifetime, is fully insane, Milla having been triggered by Rudolph and the fate of the world at hand. Dragons are powerful beings, and I don't think they lose their minds all that easily, unless they have some help in the sort of unseen form or influence. While certainly some things don't match up or fill the gaps, but there is still enough to go by on. Grima, a very similar dragon to Duma, of divine origin, powerful, necromantic, and sporting dominion over the dead, with, to boot, a fully devoted cult called the Grim Leal, whose name comes from the combination of Grima and Leal, which is Portuguese and Spanish that literally means loyal, just like the Duma faithful. So what do you think? Could Grima be the son of Duma, which was stolen away as an unhatched egg, or is it something else? Thanks for watching. This was my first fan theory video, and I really enjoyed working on it. If you enjoyed it, please comment, like, and if you are new to the channel, please subscribe and click that notification bell. I have ideas for more theories, so I hope you stick around and comment down below any theories you have or would like me to work on, and the support would be appreciated. Cheers, and I'll see you all next time.